the issue of crime in Africa has not really been addressed. We can't really address crime and criminality in Africa until we create some kind of social stability for the people. You know, many so-called people are doing crime because there's nothing else to do. You know, who am I to sit on my high horse, fella's son, that grew up with privilege, start pointing finger, hey, don't do this, don't commit that, don't sell this, come on, why are you?
Don't sleep with this.
I'll prefer you not to. You understand? I honestly prefer people not to fall into the trap set by the elites, which is poverty, which removes your dignity and makes you susceptible to dangerous ideas so that you can secure some comfort for yourself. I mean, even in the higher echelons of Nigerian society, this mentality doesn't totally dissipate. It's not somebody that built a building in Ikoyi with a 20-story building with material for 4-story building.
That's poverty.
You know, and this person is a billionaire. You know,
and people died.
Or scores of people died. You understand? You know, but this is seen as some kind of benevolent crime. You know, some kind of benign crime. You know, that, he's just, but how many buildings have fallen in Lagos in the past year? You know, how many people have they put in charge of management of huge resources and have mismanaged it? You know, even though their remuneration was impressive and massive and they live amazing lives. So we live in a crimogenic society.
Now, let me take you outside Africa for a bit. There's no way we'll have this conversation and not talk about the geopolitical machinations of East versus West and how Africa is caught up in the middle. Russia-Ukraine war. American ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, suggested that, you know, Africans should pick a side. You cannot hang on the fence. Hanging on the fence means you're supporting Russia. What do you make of this? African countries do have the agency to decide who they want to support and their allegiance and who they want to do business with. What should be our position as Africans when these guys are fighting themselves? Because we're caught up in the crosshairs.
Well, I think one of the first things that Africans should say is that, you know, we want to pick the side where there are no colonialists.
It should be our default setting.
That should be our default settings, you know. I mean, any side with a colonialist past, we are not picking you. You know, this should be our default setting, you know. Anybody with imperialist second setting, anybody with imperialist interest, we are not picking you, you know. But that's not the way our leaders speak, and that's not the way the world works. Majority of Africa is still foreign owned. I say to people, one of the reasons why Nigerians are so poor is because 74% of our economy, I don't know if it's increased now or reduced, but in 2013, about 74% of our economy was under foreign control. I mean, from telecommunications, you know, to oil, you know, to whatever.
Yeah, because we're always drumming the mantra of foreign investment.
Foreign investment, you know. So what is left for us as Nigerians? Over 70% of our arable land is used to grow cash crops, and we complain about the rising cost of food. Why won't food be expensive? When instead of us to feed ourselves with our land, we're using it to grow crops that people will use in their industries abroad, while our people are going hungry, you know, can't afford food. One bag of rice is more than minimum wage. You know, what is the staple diet of the poor Nigerian family? You know, and you complain about crime and all of that. You know, so for me, these things are all intertwined. We as African people cannot continue to live our lives as some sort of footrest for some other people's existence. America, being less than 10% of the world's population, consumes 25% of the world's resources. Scientists have said we would need about 4.2 Earths, not one Earth. We need 4.2 Earths. 1, 2, 3, 4 Earths, 4 planets for everybody in the world to live like an American.
Wow.
So definitely this American dream is not sustainable for the world. It's not a sustainable model. It's a dream where people are, okay, 80% of the world, now listen to this, 80% of the world is hungry.
Yes.
The West threw away about $1 trillion worth of food last year.
It's insane.
And 80% of the world cannot eat. So this model
Doesn't work.
can really not be
sustainable.
sustained. Pet care. This is one thing I like to point out to Africans. Or if I was there when this woman was speaking, I said, what model do you want us to support? You want us to support Ukraine, or we are supporting Russia? You support Ukraine, which we are supporting America. Whereas America has imposed a system on Africans. We have our country's budget. Nigeria's budget is what? $40 billion a year. The pet food industry in America alone is what's about 67 billion.
Okay, that's quite humbling.
So the food of dogs and cats in America, they spend more on feeding their cats and dogs than our country spends on our healthcare, our military, our transport, our education. You understand? Which means that the feeding of the American pets in the global order has been made to be more important than the life of all Nigerian people. You understand what I'm saying?
Giant of Africa.
I've not added pet health. This is the pet food industry. I've not added pet grooming. I've not added pet health care, pet insurance, just their food. I've not, actually, it's only America. I've not added Canada, France, UK, Germany, Holland. If we were to add all that, the market for pet food in all these countries, it would dwarf the entire African national budget for all African countries.
It's quite humbling.
So, what side is anybody telling us to pick where you have already put us beneath your pets, beneath your animals? Until we have African leaders who are willing to pick African side, who are willing to see that this is a travesty, not only of economics, but of humanity. That in some parts of this world, animals live better than the entire populations of certain countries. So we are not about picking sides. I don't care about what side is which, What I care about is restoring the dignity of African people so we live better than the pets of America.
Quite humbling. Now, let's look at Nigerian students. It's a few weeks to the elections and they're going to be in session because ASU has been striking for a long time and millions of Nigerian students will be disenfranchised. Was it deliberate? What can they do to address this situation? Or should schools say, look, for this electioneering period, students go home so you can vote?
Election is on Saturday now.
Yes.
Come, go and vote. Travel. Take a trip.
There are no lectures on Saturday.
Exactly. Take the trip. Take the weekend trip. I know you take weekend trip for parties. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
So take the trip back home to vote. Finish. You are all children of sacrifice. No African should think anything good is going to come to us Africans in our comfort zone. As Africans, this is what they also want you to forget. That, like I was saying to a Nigerian friend who is a professional in the bank, and he was saying to me, so what do you want me to do? I work really hard to get to where I am in this bank. You want me to lose my job doing these things you are saying? I said, because you don't understand how you were able to get into the bank in the first place. Even Krumah was saying, I worked so hard to get to this my level. I went to Lincoln University to be this educated that I am. And if I stand up for you today, I will lose all my privileges. Do you think Africans will even be allowed to walk on the streets? For us to vote as African people have to die. We must always remember that when we want to make this our selfish decisions. As an African person, for you to get a job in any of these law firms, whatever you are working today, somebody died. In fact, not somebody, plenty people.
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to die. They decided to die so that you can enter the office.
They were pioneers.
for you to go to school. We are the only group in this world that were not invited to the table for anything. The Asians at some point after oppression, they were invited in.
Even the partitioning of Africa in the Berlin Conference, not a single African was there, and they divided the continent amongst themselves.
To even make decisions in our own country, struggle. People don't understand what colonialism is. You know, it's so benign that nobody teaches you the history. The Nigerian independence, 1st of October 1960, that's the beginning of history.
And Lord Lugard.
Yeah, Lord Lugard, 1914, amalgamation. Nobody tells you the lived experience of your ancestors under colonialism. The beating, the way they killed us like fowls, the whipping, the dehumanization, you know.
You have a song, Last Revolutionary. Yeah. It's one of my favorite songs. You talk about Dioma, recognize. The importance of recognizing the sacrifices of our ancestors. You mentioned Nkrumah, you mentioned, so many people. Why is it important for us to understand our history? And when do we start looking at fellow black people? Because I tell you, if somebody dies in Hollywood, look at your status. It's RIP, somebody you didn't even know, that didn't know you exist. How many Nigerians or Africans they will probably mention the top 11 of Arsenal Football Club or the Kardashian family.
Yeah.
But ask them about Sekou Touré.
But this is all
Nkrumah,
scripted.
Sankara.
But it's scripted. It's scripted. And I was coming to that point. So they don't want us to know that we are children of these people. Because if we know these people and the sacrifice they gave to us, maybe we'll operate differently in these spaces that we have been able to, that they've allowed us enter due to their sacrifice. You understand? And maybe that would inspire us differently, you know. So that's why you can look at the whole of Lagos and there's no Nkrumah Street, for example. No Sankara, no Boulevard, nothing. So that you are detached.
Who are these people?
You're completely detached from yourself. You move thinking you are here just willy-nilly. You think it's by protest that you became free. You don't know it is by struggle. You don't know it is by sacrifice. So you are locked in this cycle of futile protests, you know, that doesn't really give us much in terms of institutional advancement, but
changes.
We get some tokenism like NSAS. People say, NSAS did not achieve anything. I say that's a lie. The fact that me have not paid toll gates since NSAS
it's a lot.
is something for me, but it's a token.
Are not there anymore. Yeah.
And it's a token. You know, SARS still exists. Let's also believe. Let's not spread that lie. SARS exists. They're everywhere, still operating, doing what they do. And, you know, but the lie that did not achieve anything, whereas everybody is passing toll gate without paying, free for 3 years. People living on the island must have saved millions. But it's still tokenist, you know. But we must organize for institutional changes to happen. And this only happens through sacrifice.
Absolutely.
You know, through dedication. So this is what is detached. And, you know, when you don't, how many programs talk about this? How many times do they teach about these people in our schools? You can leave secondary school without hearing the name Sankara, Lumumba, you know, Sekou Touré, and all these Bembela, and the great Pan-Africanists, Nasser, that stood for us to be where we are today. You know, we have to learn from these people from European rhetoric about them, you know.
Shouldn't be. Now, there's this ongoing debate about, you know, Africa's seat at the United Nations Security Council. Your father, as far back as the late 70s, had a song, Beast of No Nation. In that song, he said, waiting unite inside United Nations. You know, the mathematics don't add up. How can you have a group of people with veto power? So where do you fall in this debate on Africa's place in the United Nations Security Council? Which African country deserves that membership space? Or
what is Africa's position? What is Africa's position in the African Union? You know, what is the question we should ask? What is Africa's position in the African Development Bank? These so-called institutions that are African first, do Africans control them? Do Africans fund them? Who built the AU headquarters? We should ask ourselves this question before we go and ask who should sit down in United. Long. That is even too far.
New York.
The one that is our own, that is supposed to be our own. Who is running it? Are we running that one? Before you want to go around Security Council. So under this African situation, An African seat is nothing but a seat for sale. Did you see the FIFA documentary?
Yes.
Exactly. Did you see, what's his name? Blatter. Not Blatter, sorry.
Isayatu.
Not Isayatu. I'm talking about the French guy, the French one, Platini, and his president selling their own vote for 80 billion development and selling weapons and big business. Do you see Africans? 1 million for their pocket. You understand?
Now, Seun, as we wrap up this interview, I mean, these elections will determine Nigeria's trajectory for the next 8 years, possibly next 4 years in the immediate future. What's your message to young Nigerians that are heading out to the polls in a few weeks' time?
Well, my message to young Nigerians is to stop treating their destiny and their election the way they treat their university exams and tests. You know, we've been conditioned as young Nigerians through this our educational experience, you know, to not doing the work and finding a way. You know, so you have a lecturer in the university
The sort.
who you sort and gives you the required mark you need. If there's a lecturer that you cannot sort, who insists that you do the work, that's the bad lecturer. It's the one that nobody likes. It's the one that takes bribe and absorbs you of your responsibility. The time you should be studying and becoming an adult,
Or the one
you are
that
using it to
says
entrench yourself in
come
childish
and meet me
things.
in the cold room.
Yeah, in the cold room, Unilagwe. You feel me? Because you get me. You know, young Nigerians should be more participatory in politics. They should not hand over their power to anybody, thinking, oh, this person will do the work. All I have to do is go and vote.
Or wait for 4 years.
Yes, all I have to do is go
interest
and vote.
in politics.
We as Nigerians, young and old, must understand that we must organize for ourselves. We must do the work. That even though you want to even vote for somebody, you must do the work to know what you are voting for, to be a part of what you are voting for. That's the level we're in Nigerian politics right now. You know, so we are happy. You know, a lot of young Nigerians, you know, they're happy to support Obi, for example, because they've been told by the media who Obi is a part of. People forget he's a big-time publisher, or rather was before he became a full-time politician. You know, so he knows the game of propaganda, and you know, so he's able to sell himself as some kind of different from a change. The way Buhari sold himself to us as a change, you know, Obi has been the one to capture that narrative in this election. And young people, many of whom are not even members of the Labour Party, you know, just want to vote for him because they believe that rhetoric. Many young people want to vote for Asiwaju. Why? Because him also being able to afford a lot of propaganda has been able to sell to them that he's the one that built Lagos. And with this idea that he has built Lagos, he can build Nigeria. And you know, they all have all these stories that they've sold to the people. And now people have now negated their own power, thinking, oh, we don't need to do anything for ourselves. We need to organize. These people, they've suddenly changed, you know, and we're arguing which of them is better for us. When we know, everybody knows, you know, they are not. We must take power for ourselves.
They always say the argument between the devil and the deep blue sea, and it's devil and deep blue sea, but there's one more now.
You know, I think the problem with Africa is that we're always forced to choose between a rock and a hard place. You know, and it's time that we take our destiny out. I want us to understand, no president can save Nigeria. So that's why we must always look at that. That's also the criticism I give to Showore, and that's why I'm not in AAC. We cannot be looking at creating a president. One president surrounded by 36 PDP governors, APC governors, and APC PDP House of Rep, APC PDP Senate. What can this one president do? You know?
And if you're working against their interests.
Exactly, they will sabotage you with all these their officers in power.
Yeah.
Any movement that is truly about the liberation of Nigeria will not be a one-man movement, that's for sure. Will not be a movement championing a demagogue of any sort. It will be a mass movement of the people. So every seat in every position in Nigeria will be contested by this movement, backed by the power of the people. You know, the presidency, the governors, the state assembly, the state executives, the national assemblies, everywhere will be a battlefront in the recapturing of our country. Because whether we like it or not, we are existing under state capture, where a few people have captured our state and used these resources for their own personal benefit. And we must understand that aspect. You know, so anybody chasing a presidential candidate that will come and change Nigeria is still living in the pipe dream. You know, it's the same criticism I had, you know, even though as close as I am to Showere. And that's why I love the guy. He doesn't mind criticism. He doesn't mind it. I'm one of his most critical people, and still yet, our friendship has not wavered. It has created a bond where we know we are honest to each other. You know, I also did not participate in revolution. Is it because I'm afraid of revolution? No, it's because I told him, we cannot do revolution on behalf of the people. Revolution is done with the people. We can't do revolution for the people.
It's organic. Yeah.
Revolution is by the people. So until we have sown the seed, we cannot announce a revolution on behalf. You know, just the way we cannot create a presidency that comes as only the people of Nigeria. And until that kind of movement is built, and none of these oppressors want to build that kind of movement because it will remove their own power.
It's not in their interest. Finally,
exactly.
Final. Do you think MOP will be registered before the next electoral
cycle?
Yeah,
definitely. Okay. We are at the stage of registering right now. We are just taking a pause because we know that even INEC will not be able to do due diligence, and we won't even get any response. So we are taking this period to observe the elections, learn certain things as well, and also train our own officers to give more time for training. Then you never get too much training. And after the elections, I think we should put in our...
So congratulations. Before I wrap up, congratulations. You've hit milestones. You've had your first kid in the last 40 years. You just turned 40 a few weeks ago. How does it feel? Are you feeling...
I don't know. I'm just sleeping and tired all the time. This is what happens here.
Now, waiting there. So you just have to take it easy. Seun Kuti, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's good to see you again.
I wish you all the best with your band, MOP, and
we have to hit the road together again.
Yes, we need to.
You know,
I had
make some more memories.
All the best, brother. God
Thank
bless
you, man.
Cheers.